My name is Uhuru Mofokeng and welcome to the South African Book Review Sessions, your online political book club where everything political literature is dissected, vivisected, and eviscerated. When we started this channel, we promised to review a book each and every single day. Guys, that is rather difficult. I can do it, but the thing is, I don't believe I've got enough viewership that can maintain the everyday videos. It's gonna really mess around my algorithms. But anyways, we're still gonna do a number of videos. We have a lot of material. We still have a lot of books to review, a lot of recommendations to do. So we're still going to have a lot of material coming from this particular channel, which is your home of political literature. Those who are new, there's a subscribe button on the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Click on that, yes, click. By doing so, you are not going to incur any extra cost, first and foremost. I repeat, you are not going to incur any extra cost by clicking on the subscribe button on the bottom of your screen. Secondly, by clicking on that subscribe button, you're ensuring that you don't miss out on any reviews of your favorite books or recommendations of your favorite books. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Click, 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 click. So this is how we do it in our channel. We introduce the book to you, give a brief summary of the book, give a rating, and give reasons for and justifications for our ratings. So here we go. Today we're doing a book called Robert Sobukwe, How Can a Man Die Better? Robert Sobukwe, How Can a Man Die Better? By Benjamin Pogrund. Benjamin Pogrund and Robert Sobukwe, by the way, were very good buddies. This book tells you the tale of how their friendship was formed, where they met, how it developed up until Robert Sobukwe's death. So he's one person who basically understands and has been quite personally close, and was a personal friend to Sobukwe. He was one of the last people to actually be allowed a visit by Sobukwe, that was allowed by the apartheid state. He was close from varsity to Sobukwe when they started teaching, but they met at Wits. So Benjamin Pogrund, and this book has become actually some kind of authority on the life of Sobukwe. So it's an important book. I rate it also highly on the list of 10 best South African biographies. You can check the link on the description below. It's a good book. Now, basically, the book is a very sad book, like many South African political stories. It's a very sad book. It talks of basically the biographical times of Robert Sobukwe, and at this particular stage, I'm not really interested in that. What I'm interested in is the divisions this book talks about. The book talks about the divisions within the ANC back in the 1950s. Divisions, like serious proper divisions within the ANC. This book talks about the first breakaway from the African National Congress. This book talks about the formation of the Pan-Africanist Congress. It talks about the moments where the Pan-Africanist Congress got it wrong, and up until what we subsequently see today. You know, it's a good book. It talks of the differences between the ANC and the PAC. It talks also of the similarities, because besides this, one organization came from the other, so there'll always be those similarities, but the differences were vast. It's a sad book because divisions for black people in the 1950s had serious ramifications, as they still do today. Divisions amongst black people have a serious impact on the progress of the people. Now, one question that came to mind when reading this book was, to whose advantage, to whose benefit was the split of the PAC from the ANC? Who benefited from that? Because basically, from what I see, that particular split caused, it did not really catapult the struggle. It actually derailed the struggle, because from there, the ANC did not concentrate on the struggle, did not concentrate on the state, on the apartheid state. it concentrated on the PAC. The PAC did not concentrate on the apartheid state. It concentrated on the ANC. They were outmaneuvering each other, and that basically robbed black people of a particular progress. So those divisions, this book talks about it, tells you where it really started from. According to this book, the issue there was basically ideological, as you all know, on the Congress Alliance, the Freedom Charter, and the alliance with the communists and the other organization, which were basically non-Africans. So above that, the books points out a particular moment, the expulsion of a certain Josiah Smadzunya and a Butlako Libalo as the turning point and the decisive moment of basically the breakaway. That was the moment that led to the breakaway being quite imminent. It also tells of that particular Congress that led to the breakaway. Benjamin Pogrund was there. Basically, he claims he was one of the few whites in that venue, and he wrote intense. He was reporting for Rand Mail, I think, Rand Daily Mail, a newspaper back then. So he speaks into detail about the breakaway of the PAC and the ANC. Now, he also speaks of the incarceration of Robert Sobukwe, how this man got arrested after the Sharpeville, after the 21 March Sharpeville incident and the Soweto incident, where they went and handed in themselves by they bent their IDs, their dumpas, and handed in themselves. Now, this book tells us he was sentenced for 3 years for that particular act of 21 March in 1960. He served his sentence, but then the book tells us also that the apartheid state refused to release him after he had served each and every single day of his sentence. The book tells us that B.J. Foster, the then Minister of Justice, went into Parliament and spoke out proudly that, listen, this man has too much power to be let go. Basically, that's what he said, because he said he has the strength to organize. He has second to none capacity to organize. He mobilizes. He has a magnetism, an unexplainable magnetism about him. So these guys feared him. They feared that this man is not rehabilitated. He'd come back and start again and organize and actually challenge the apartheid machinery. So they decided to keep him. He was not found guilty. They created a law for him, specifically the Sobukwe clause, just to keep him incarcerated. This book tells you about his time in incarceration, how lonely it was, sometimes how the wife would visit him, where he stayed, giving deeper details. It talks of his release and his subsequent death. It talks of those things, and I'm not really interested, as I said, with those biographical facts, but then there are bigger issues this book highlights, like the issue of the leadership of the Pan-Africanist Congress after being banned in 1961. It talks about how difficult basically the PAC find it to keep itself united, free from factionalism, and organized as a fighting force from exile. He speaks about those things, and he accuses a man called Butlako Libalo for being a reckless leader. He's not really happy about Butlako Libalo and his position and the subsequent positions he took for the PAC. He believes the death of the PAC came way before 1994 or after it. It came during the days in exile, with the way the PAC was managed. The author does not have a fiber of affection for the leadership character and the leadership style of Butlako Libalo. Now, another advantage of this book, as a boy who grew up in structures of the Progressive Youth Alliance and the mass democratic movement at large, I do not know a lot about leaders of the PAC, but this book tells you a lot about leaders of the PAC, and it shows you that these are leaders that were basically from the ANC, and they were Africanist, and it introduces to a whole range of leaders from the PAC, and it actually it leaves a serious question like, why don't you know so much about the PAC? Why is the history of the PAC not known? Like, why don't you know? Why? That's one question this book left. Like, why don't you know so much about the PAC? And that question led me to another question. Whose responsibility is it to tell the story of the PAC? Is it the responsibility of the ANC because they're in government and they control all of these things? Like, what responsibility? Well, like, what? I really don't understand. I wish the story of the PAC could be told, but then definitely I don't believe it could be told by the ANC. It cannot be told by the ANC. But where are these PAC people? Why are they not telling their story? Why are we not knowing so much? Are they being censored? So this book basically introduced me to a part of politics, opposition politics. Before both the PAC and the ANC were not government. Basically, they were not government, but they were opposing each other so vehemently. It assisted the government to have both PAC and the ANC because that actually extended the stay of apartheid. It extended it for about 3 decades. That is my view. That is my view. If you differ with me, the comment section below is there for you to have a say. But basically, I think this book is an incredible book. It tells of many issues, and it leaves one with many unanswered questions. A lot of unanswered questions. And one unfair thing I found in this book is the author did fall for the trap used by the apartheid regime, the divide and rule tactic. They used it a lot when it came to Nelson Mandela and Robert Sobukwe. Basically, they were peers, they were outstanding, and they were just incredible individuals. Now, and the apartheid government made it a point to create some sort of rift between the two as far as people are concerned, create some competition. And the author does fall for the trick in a page or two, but then it tries covers it up, maybe unintentionally so, by explaining to detail that Robert Sobukwe had nothing against Nelson Mandela, and perhaps Nelson Mandela had nothing against Robert Sobukwe as well. But basically, he does fall in and makes Robert Sobukwe outshine Nelson Mandela. I don't fall for that. There was never a competition in the revolution. I am not into comparing for leaders of the liberation movements. It is absolutely not my position to do so. I'm not, I cannot, I don't have that capacity to, no. So I will not fall for that trap. I believe Robert Sobukwe and Nelson Mandela were all outstanding revolutionaries, and they both deserve equal mention, and their story needs to be told. But then I still ask, whose responsibility is it to tell Robert Sobukwe's story? It can't be. It can't just be the ANC's responsibility because he was them. Besides, the ANC did not expel. You see, that's another book. Another thing this book does. The ANC did not expel Robert Sobukwe as many would like us to believe. The ANC did not expel him. He actually resigned. The ANC expelled two individuals, Joseph Matsunya and Putlako Libalo. Those were the only individuals it actually expelled. But yeah, Matsunya did not take, Putlako Libalo did not take that expulsion serious. Actually, because he was chairperson of the branch in Orlando, he expelled Tumanoko. Tumanoko was the one, the deputy national secretary, was sent to deliver that expulsion letter. He actually expelled him in return from the branch. But no, you are expelled. So the guys were very much anarchic. And this book gives us, it deals with the myth. You see, I've been told so much time that the PAC was anarchy. PAC was anarchy. It deals with that. There was such shining intellectuals within the PAC. Beautiful book, and it gives a good account. But it leaves one with questions. This is the type of book to leave you with questions. Like, it does leave me with questions. I'm not satisfied with seeing the PAC vanish like this. Like, where are these comrades? Where are Africans? Africa. Like, where are the Africans? It is actually good for the political demographic of the country that the PAC should resurrect. It actually, many people would find resonance with the message of the Pan-Africanist Congress, more especially on the subject of the land. On the subject of the land, they've always been a step ahead and they've always been a step ahead as far as issues of the land are concerned. I like the book. Well, it won't change me to become a PhD comrade. Definitely not. I'm fine where I am, and I'm happy with my own politics. I'm at peace with myself. But this is a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book, and I wish young people who actually find resonance with the message of the Pan-Africanist Congress can come out and actually speak up and occupy the space. And we need the PAC. It's important to have the PAC in the particular political spectrum of the country as far as this current dispensation is concerned. However, how do I rate this book? Yes, guys, I love this book so much. It's a book I love. I rated and I give it an 8. I don't know, guys, what is the negative of this book. I've been trying to look for the downfalls, of this book. That's the only one I found was that Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe comparison. Benjamin Pogrund does that once or twice. I was not really happy because he wants to portray Robert Sobukwe as the best thing ever. And you can't be the best thing ever as far as the revolution is concerned. You can't be the best thing ever. As far as the revolution, Chief, this is not your birthday party. You can't be the best thing ever. It's impossible. But then, besides that, this was an outstanding revolutionary. I'm finding serious little faults in the book. I love the book. It is good for everyone to read, more especially ANC comrades, because we have a tendency of insulting other comrades without having proper information. And most of us do not know anything about the PAC, and because the PAC seems to be being obliterated by history itself, it's just disappearing. We feel like we don't have to tell its story. It's not our responsibility. Yes, it might not be our responsibility, but we need to learn about it, because the development within the PAC also played a critical role within the politics of the African National Congress itself. This book, the author mourns Putlako Libalo's leadership in exile. He says it was horrible, but at the same time, he gives you the glimpse of the capacity, the prowess of Oliver Tambo's leadership in exile. Oliver Tambo was an excellent leader, a leader par excellent. The man managed to keep the ANC intact and deliver it intact. Putlako Libalo could not do that. This book actually gives me one more reason to be proud to be a member of the African National Congress. It's a book I highly recommend. It's a book we should all read. Guys, get this book. Proper political stuff. Story of the ANC, story of the PAC, story of the revolution, story of South Africa, one of South Africa's best sons. I loved this book. And because of that, I'm going to close it with the Israeli.